Hello there and welcome to the Secrets of Organ Playing podcast. I'm your host, Vidas Pinkevičius. Welcome to Secrets of Organ Playing podcast number 67. It's Sunday, November the 6th, 2016. And today's guest is Dr. James Kibbie, who is chair of the organ department and university organist at the University of Michigan. He also maintains a full schedule of concert, recording and festival engagements throughout North America and Europe, including appearances at the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, Royal Festival Hall in London, Dvořak Hall in Prague and Lincoln Center in New York. Dr. Kibbie is internationally renowned as an authority on the organ music of Johann Sebastian Bach. He has performed the complete cycle of Bach organ works in a series of 18 recitals and is in constant demand as a Bach recitalist and clinician. His recent recordings of the complete Bach works on historic Baroque organs in Germany have been welcomed with enthusiastic critical and audience acclaim. Thanks to generous support from Dr. Barbara Fuhren-Sloat in honor of J. Barry Sloat, the University of Michigan is offering Dr. Kibbie's recordings of all 270 Bach works as free internet downloads. And in this conversation, Dr. Kibbie talks about this project to go to Germany and record all Bach's works on Bach's period instruments and put it online to listen for you for free and download and enjoy. Besides all this, you will also find out more about Dr. Kibbie's personality and his teaching style and performance and practice style too. He is such a generous individual, and I hope you will find this conversation inspiring. Let's go to the show. So, Dr. Kibbie, I'm so delighted we're finally having this conversation. We met many years ago, and actually, before we even met, I've heard about your legendary Bach recordings that you put online for everyone to listen to. It's a real treasure. You're so generous with your ideas. Thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. And I want to tell you that all of the recordings are online thanks to a wonderful donor that the University of Michigan had. Dr. Barbara Sloat provided all of the money to make those recordings precisely so they can be offered free as internet downloads to everybody.
Right.
So it's really her gift.
It's amazing gift, really. Before there were YouTube, right? Facebook, Twitter, before they had the blogs of any kind, there was Dr. James Kibbie with this tremendous series, enormous series of hundreds of Bach's works, right? Recorded on historical European significant organs of Bach time, right? That's even more important.
Right. Yeah, so, original Bach organs in Germany, yes.
Right. So we're going to talk about this and your recent discoveries about Bach and what you discovered and presented at the National AGO Convention, right, in Houston. That was fantastic. So, but before we end and before we dive deep into this topic, Dr. Kibbie, can you share with us how did you fall in love with the organ originally?
Well, I think it was the same way that most organists get interested in the organ. It was in church. And as a child, when I went to church, I mean, I'm sorry to say, church is not all that interesting for young children sometimes. And the most interesting thing was the organ. I happened to go to a church where you could see the organist, and I think that really is where most of us develop a love for the instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and if somebody really introduces you, demonstrates the instrument, lets you touch and play with your hands and feet, shows the bellows how it works, it's tremendous impact for the young person for a long time, right? For a long while.
I know that that's true. If young people can just be allowed, exactly as you say, to touch the organ, to try it out, it doesn't matter if they can play, but just to experience the instrument. If you can bring young people together with the organ, the instrument sells itself, you know.
Mm-hmm. You know, I was first aware of your name, of your reputation, a long time ago when I and my wife Oshira, we were applying for organist position in Ypsilanti. No, I think it was, it might have been in Ypsilanti Congregational Church. Do you know this church?
Yes, and do I remember that you played a work of Eben, or perhaps you were planning to play a work of Eben, a movement of Laudes for a program by the Ann Arbor American Guild of Organists.
Yes,
is that right?
yes. At the time, we were studying with Dr. Pamela Rother-Finson.
Yeah, Pamela, yes, I remember. Yeah.
Yes, and that was amazing. I think Festival of Modern Organ Music or something that
That's right.
that Ann Arbor put together. And yes, Oshra played, I think, variations by Eben on the hymn tune "Good King Wenceslas."
Wenceslas, yes.
And I played a movement from Laudes.
Laudes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At St. Francis Catholic Church,
Exactly,
which is a wonderful Letourneau organ in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, wonderful. And you know, when you say that in the church you originally discovered the organ, that's completely true for many people, right? They go into the church and they sometimes look to the altar, and if the organ is in the balcony, they sometimes even don't bother to look unless they go out of the church, right? But in some cases, or in many cases, the organ is up in front. So, do you remember what was the first organ that you saw?
Well, I'm afraid it was not even a pipe organ. It was just a little, very poor electronic that was in our family's church at that time. But, you know, for a young child, I suppose you don't really know pipe organ or electronic. You know, it was that wonderful instrument, and seeing someone play on two keyboards and pedal board, you know, that for a child, I think that's just really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And especially when somebody plays the pedals, right? And
Exactly.
and you observe it's a real magic for people. Yeah. Although we as organists now probably say to others that playing the pedals is not that a big deal, right? There are many more important aspects of organ playing that are more difficult, I think. Don't you think?
I think so too.
Would you
yes.
agree?
Yeah. Yes, I think.
But for people who have never experienced this instrument before, especially when somebody is playing up in front, it's magical, right? It's really magical. So, Dr. Kibbie, what happened later? How did you develop your lifelong interest and passion for the organ and chose this as your career?
I think the same way that most organists do, I really feel it chose me. It was something that I knew that I wanted to do, and like a lot of musicians, I just had to figure out how to make it possible. You know, how do you make a living doing what you want to do anyway? So this is such a great gift in life that we have. We get up every morning looking forward to what we're going to do that day. You know, I have friends who have really very good jobs, but it's only a job, only a way to make money. And for us, our job is doing what we love and what we'd be doing anyway.
I couldn't agree more. You know, it's like a vocation. It's like a purpose of life, right? We have this tremendous calling, right? Our life wouldn't be complete if we couldn't touch this instrument for a day. Imagine for a week or a month. right?
You are right. Yes.
We don't function well if we don't touch the instrument. We are, we are jumpy and grumpy sometimes to others for no reason, right? But just because perhaps we didn't practice today.
One of the things that I do frequently is meet with prospective organ students who perhaps come to the University of Michigan even before they audition or apply, just to learn about what it might be like to study organ at a university. So they will often come maybe as high school students with their parents. And I always ask the parents about how it happened that their son or daughter became interested in the organ. And almost always the parents say, we have no idea. There was no one in the family who was an organist. We don't know where this came from. The parents are very supportive. They think it's wonderful. But so often, I say it's like the instrument chooses the musician.
Right. And regardless of nationality, of religious affiliation, political views, right?
Exactly.
Gender, it's totally egalitarian instrument, right? Very universal and let's say democratic, right? And expresses the ideals of real Western society, civilization, in the best way.
One of the great things about being a musician is that you can leap across the boundaries that divide people. Boundaries of, as you say, nationality or race or culture or economic background or religion. Not just the organ, but all music brings people together in fundamental ways. And as a musician, when you experience that, that's one of the most important things about being a musician, in my view.
Exactly. So many, but sometimes organists are divided, right? Some people love to play Franck slowly, and some people love to play Franck faster, right? And the issue of tempo is like a political views, left or right, right? Sometimes, or registration with mixtures or without.
No, but I think you're right to focus on tempo. I have often joked, if I could email Bach one question about any piece, just one, I would email him, Herr Cantor, could you send me a metronome marking? Of course, the metronome had not been invented for Bach. But if I just know approximately how fast it would go, that would tell me so much else. It would tell me something about the registration that would be appropriate, about how much tempo flexibility, about how you might play ornaments, about so many of the aspects of interpretation. And of course, the point is, we don't have that, particularly for a composer as old as Bach. There is just so much we don't know and never will know.
Excellent, fantastic, Dr. Kibbie. If we had this chance, this opportunity to email Bach, maybe, do you have any idea what would he reply?
I think that he would not think of there being only one way to play the music. I think for Bach, what he wrote on the manuscripts, what he probably taught his students was more a general vision of the piece, a guideline, and he would think many of these details were not the business of the composer to specify, but were the business of the performer, of the interpreter. Yes. So in Bach's time, there was a range of possibilities. You might choose to play an ornament on this measure, you might choose not to. If you choose an ornament, it might be one version of a trill, it might be another. That flexibility is a feature of all music, but particularly of German Baroque music, partly because the organs were also different. So what you would do on one organ might not even be possible on the organ in the next church or the next town. So that range of possibilities is built into our Baroque music, I think.
Definitely. He was such a tremendous, fabulous character, Herr Bach, and complete example of what it meant to be a universal musician for the time, right? Many people, sometimes they disagreed with him, right? But many people looked up to him, right? And just like today, right? Bach is Alpha and Omega, right? For music, right?
Do you know who said that? Do you know that's a quote? Bach is the Alpha and Omega. That's Reger.
Max Reger, okay. And we celebrate 100 years of Reger's death this year, right?
Exactly, it's the Reger centennial. Yes.
Centennial. Fantastic. So, Dr. Kibbie, I'm very curious. How did you discover Bach? Do you remember?
I know that one of my first teachers had me learn some simple works of Bach, but then because this was long before there was an internet or anything like that, so I got the music that I learned by going to a local music store, and there was several big drawers of organ music, and I remember even as a child going there and looking through and thinking, oh, what music do I want to buy? What music do I want to work on? And there was a volume of, I think, fairly simple Bach works. And I bought that and took it to my teacher and said, could I work on some of these? And I think that probably really began what now, of course, is a lifelong passion, as it is for most organists. I think all organists tend to love and play Bach, don't we?
I haven't met an organist who wouldn't love Bach's music.
Yes.
I met a musician who wouldn't like to listen or play Bach's compositions. Yes, but organist, well, it's really difficult to imagine because really, as Max Reger said, Bach is Alpha and Omega. Right. So through the gifts and talents of your teachers, you were introduced to the treasures, right, that Bach wrote long time, 300 years ago, right?
Yes.
What happened next, Dr. Kibbie? How did you develop your lifelong pursuit of playing all Bach works on historical German instruments?
Well, I had the idea for many years of playing the complete works, and I finally did it in a series of 18 recitals at the University of Michigan in the year 2000, which was the 250th anniversary of Bach's death. And at those recitals, I would talk to the audience before the recital began sometimes. And at the final recital, someone in the audience asked me, do you have any plans to record? And while I really had not consciously thought of it, I just instantly said, oh, I would love to record the complete organ works of Bach, but if I did it, I want to do it on original Baroque organs in Germany. And for probably 6 years after that, I looked for a way to make it possible because it's very expensive. No record company can really afford to pay for the cost of the recording technician and the travel and the church rental and all of the costs that come with making recordings. And I certainly was not going to do it unless the quality, the audio quality, was just as fine as it could possibly be. So it was finally when this wonderful woman, Barbara Sloat, approached me about doing this project that we were able to put all of the pieces together and make the recordings. I recorded the complete works over a period of 3 years on 7 different organs in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank goodness that your wonderful donor, your your patron basically
Yes.
came along and made this possible. If not for her, it's hard to imagine. Well, today there are means to do this. If you have a good fan base, for example, good social media followers, and I'm sure you do, or you have fans all over the world, and amazing, tremendous reputation, and you can raise money through financing platforms like Kickstarter, right? You can ask for support from your real fans. Give me maybe $10 and you will receive MP3 download, or a physical CD if you donate more. And if you donate even more, I will send you the entire series. Or if you donate to me 1,000, I will allow you to come to inaugural recital of something. And the prices get bigger and bigger. And one of the biggest prizes you can offer, would be a private dinner with you. This donor would come to you, let's say Ann Arbor, and have a dinner, a chat, and even a private concert you could play. Or if they donate 10,000, for example, well, you can even travel to their city, right? Anywhere. So there are possibilities to do this today quite successfully, and artists of any nationality are taking advantage of this. But in the year of 2000, there was none possibility, right? None.
Yeah, but we all have to be, just as you say, we have to be entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
We have to be in charge of our own careers.
I'm amazed, Dr. Kibbie, that not only you decided to record those works, but you decided to release them for free. To share. I'm sharing this gift, right, that you received from your donor, and you are sharing it freely to the world. What inspired? Did you get any doubts about that? Business model, let's say?
No, and I realized that although I wasn't getting income from selling recordings, I got so many more benefits by doing it this way, because the recordings have reached so many more people than if we were selling CDs. I mean, seriously, how many boxed CD sets of 17 CDs of the organ works of Bach could one sell? I mean, it's not very many. I don't know how many works have been downloaded from my Bach website now, but years ago we passed the 1 million downloads mark.
Well, that's a real star level, let's say. Not too many musicians of pop style, right? Pop culture can surpass 1 million, and they all strive to do 1 million. But it's like platinum record, right? But for organist, it's a rare occasion that I don't know very many people who can even say that they had 1 million viewers or listeners. So what you did is very wise and pioneering idea, well ahead of time, right?
Well, and our donor, Barbara Sloat, I think wisely pointed out that after a while the works are everywhere. They're not only now on my website. They're available through the commercial license, and people can download them, can disseminate them, so they pop up all of the time on other websites. One of the things I didn't expect was that a number of filmmakers have contacted me for permission to use a recording as background music for some scene in a film, and that's fun. It's very interesting to see the different ways that filmmakers have used it. So they are now much more widely available than just one website.
And when you record everything that Bach wrote for the organ, filmmakers can choose not only the toccata and fugue in D minor, right?
Yes,
they can choose some obscure Neumeister chorale that nobody really knows.
That's right. You're right that those are it's the unusual works that the filmmakers have centered on, and one of them actually did request a Neumeister chorale. So you are exactly right.
Right. So real pioneering idea. You are a thought leader for a long time, Dr. Kibbie, for our entire profession. And did you had any backlash from the colleagues about that?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
And I get emails all of the time from people, I mean, literally around the world. Most of them just, saying, "Oh, this is great, thank you so much," but also emails from organists asking about, now, why did you play something this particular way, or asking a question about either interpretation or something having to do with the organ or the organ registration. And I like that. That's one of the wonderful. I didn't expect that, and that's one of the nice things about having this website and these recordings is having contact with other organists in. Some time ago, I had an organist from Sri Lanka who emailed, and I was so ignorant, I didn't even know there were pipe organs in Sri Lanka. And
right.
He sent me a photo of him and his church choir in their church with their organ, and that was a learning experience for me.
Did you receive any mainstream media attention too for doing this project?
I had a great interview with the BBC in London, and that I was very proud of that.
Yeah, because let's face it, organ is not a particular center of cultural activities of the world, right? It's very niche thing for people with huge interest perhaps in the instrument, but sometimes mainstream media is not even aware of what great treasures are out there, 7 centuries of organ music, right? And that you got noticed and discovered by the BBC, it's fantastic, and of course it gave you further boost, right, for the promotion of this project too.
And here in the U.S., one of the great missionaries for the organ is Michael Barone, who has the wonderful radio program Pipe Dreams.
Exactly.
And that is now distributed to individual radio stations across the United States. So many people in the U.S. hear and experience organ music thanks to that syndicated radio program, Pipe Dreams.
I've seen your name pop up many times on Pipe Dreams, and really Michael Barone is what can I say about him other than that he's doing such a tremendous service for the profession, right? There is no other radio program like that in the world, right? Which transmits 2 hours of weekly tremendous value of organ music, plus great introductions. He is a great, let's say, curator of organ music, and picks and chooses, right, what is worth of the airtime, right? So, of course, not surprisingly, your efforts got recognition and nationwide and worldwide through internet too.
Well, and Michael doesn't only play familiar repertoire and known composers. He explores the margins of organ music and has that knack of introducing it to the audience in a way that they relate to it and appreciate it.
Well, of course, if you do this long enough, like Michael did,
yes.
After a while you run out of mainstream masterworks, right?
Maybe so.
and then you have to figure out very deeply what can I offer next Sunday or Sunday after that, other than that, than well-known works, right? And of course, new composers are constantly writing new music, and strange organ cultures of obscure countries, right? Like Sri Lanka. It's not obscure at all, but you never knew, right? What happened, and maybe there is organ culture there worth listening to and worth paying attention to, that Michael Barone can discover in the future. So, Dr. Kibbie, it's interesting for me to go a little bit deeper into this project that you did with Bach, and can you share a little bit how could you fit all that, thousands of notes into your head and fingers and hands? That's very, very difficult.
It's a lot of work. That's all. I tell my students that being a musician is 10% talent, 90% hard work. And I had played much of this music for, many, many years. But even so, there's just a lot of practicing and a lot of working to master it all, and not only to learn it, but to learn it essentially all at the same time, so that you can record it as I did over a period of 3 years. But at least you have it under your fingers all at the same time.
By doing so, Dr. Kibbie, you went into the league of the great masters like Helmut Walcha and let's say Marcel Dupré, who pioneered probably this marathon, let's say, of all Bach recitals in the U.S., or first in Paris, then in the U.S. So yes, he said, I think in his memoir, that he had to have all Bach works under his fingers and feet, which is unusual for any concert artist. And normally people have maybe 2 hours of repertoire under their fingers at most, right? For their season, let's say. And then they learn new works, and then they switch and go back and forth. But what you did, Dr. Kibbie, is very rare. Many people would want to do this, but are afraid to do this, I'm sure.
But many organists have played the complete works of Bach. I hear from organists now, that perhaps have done it as a series of recitals at their church or at their college. And I think all of us have the same experience, that the audiences have been larger than we expected. It's a very popular project to not just have a Bach recital, but to offer an audience the opportunity to hear the complete works of Bach. And I hear from organists that when they started the project, they didn't imagine how large and enthusiastic the audiences would be. So I think that speaks wonderfully for our instrument, for the organ, but of course it speaks for Bach most of all.
Well, yes, we as organists perhaps are afraid to offer, one style of music or one composer of music for an entire hour or even more, right? But if you go deep enough, if you offer 18 recitals in a row of one particular composer, it's like going through the dip, right, and arising victorious, right? Where there is a challenge, right? Not too many people jump over the dip, right? Like the crest of the wave and breaks, and many people are sort of stuck in the bottom there and quit. Did you have any idea of quitting that project in the middle?
No.
No, of course not. That would be unusual. Did you by the way, did you have any other marathons like that in the past before Bach project?
So that's very interesting, because it turns out I'm a runner. I have been running for many years, and I don't claim to be good, but I do claim to take it seriously. I train with a running group in Ann Arbor. We have a coach, and I run typically maybe 2 marathons each year. And the coach of my running group told me, and I think she's right, that having run marathons, having run the long race, in a way gave me the tools that I needed to undertake this Bach project, because she pointed out, first, you have the confidence to know you can undertake a really big project and complete it, but you also learn what's involved in planning some big project and doing it. And if you're a runner, you have various training schedules and, over a period of months to prepare. And she thought that I probably relied on some of the things I'd learned from running to plan the Bach project. And I think that's probably correct.
Mm-hmm. Tremendous insight, Dr. Kibbie, because let's face it, everything you do and the runners do is essentially a mental activity. You're fighting your mind, basically, right? Which says constantly, I have to quit, stop running, right? It's nonsense. I can't. And you can, right?
You are right. Yes, my students, I think, get tired sometimes of my talking about the similarities between running and music. But there is one huge difference: is that music is creative, it's artistic, perhaps in a way that something like running is not, and that is what engages the spirit. Ultimately, is not all of the difficulties or all of the things that you're planning. It is that it's great art. When you're finally finished, you have created something so extraordinary.
But running can be artistic enough. You can use your left foot and you can use your right foot too.
Yes.
Great. Amazing. So, Dr. Kibbie, I know this project happened a long time ago, right? Like 16 years ago. But your interest and passion in Bach never ceased, right? And you rediscovered something very new, very recently, right? About Bach and how it can be used in liturgical settings, in concerts, right? And you presented this at the National AGO Convention in Houston. Can you share us a little bit about that?
I am not a musicologist. I'm a performer and a teacher. So what I presented for the American Guild of Organists convention was not my own research. I was summarizing the recent findings of the really great Bach scholars like Christoph Wolff, George Stauffer here in the U.S., and others. And always I rely on the perspectives that I got from the wonderful Bach scholar and teacher Peter Williams, who passed away earlier this year and who had coached me on performing the Bach works. But what I offered for the American Guild of Organists convention was a sort of, I said, a shopping tour for organists of some of the recent discoveries, either works that have just been discovered in the past few years, or in many cases, works that were known but were long thought to be by someone other than Bach, and recent discoveries have shown that they are now authentically Bach. So there are several new works that we can welcome back into the canon of the Bach organ works. I'm going to go back to Germany in about 2 months, and there are 4 additional works that I did not record when I recorded the complete works, and I'm going to record those on the Trost organ in Waltershausen in Germany, and then we'll add those 4 additional works to the website of the complete works of Bach.
Oh, please let me know, Dr. Kibbie, when you do this. I will be very, very grateful for you to share this information with me, so that I can share this with my network too.
Oh, of course. I'll look forward to it.
With organists from 89 countries.
Wonderful.
Great. It's such a rare opportunity to discover new Bach works or known works that earlier were thought by being not Bach, right? And as you say, suddenly they appear in the canon again, and people all over the world can play it again and enjoy as real Johann Sebastian Bach treasure. So, Dr. Kibbie, what's next in your plans? Of course, you are leading this fantastic organ department at the University of Michigan, which is one of the top schools in the world for, let's say, for the organ. It has a tremendous reputation. So, I know the fall semester has started for you, right? How do you feel about this new school year?
Well, it happens that this term I'm on sabbatical leave. So it's kind of interesting that I'm not teaching this fall, but I have a wonderful colleague, Kola Owolabi, who also teaches organ. And we have two visiting faculty who are teaching this term because I'm on sabbatical, and Vincent Dubois, who is now one of the titular organists at Notre Dame in Paris, is a continuing visiting artist for our department. So next May, we are taking all of our organ students to France. Rather than bringing Vincent Dubois to Ann Arbor to teach the students, we're going to take the students to study not only with him, but with some other eminent French artists, and the students are going to play one or two group recitals while they're in France. And so that's a focus of our work this year.
Isn't that great that the entire organ department can go abroad to this field trip, right, to the treasure of treasures in France and learn from the real, instruments themselves, not only by the masters that live there today, but also from the instruments that they read and listen to and adore, right? And they can touch and make pictures and selfies, right?
And it's not only the instruments and, of course, the acoustics, but it's also the culture, sitting in the cafe and having a glass of wine or a slice of cheese. That's all part of the experience of understanding the music.
Mm-hmm. If you feel the cheese right, you can feel the music a little bit differently and understand it even like Frenchman a little bit does, right? And with more freedom maybe of expression.
I think so. I believe it.
Which we always need when we interpret French music specifically. So, of course, when you said about this field trip to France, I remembered that last June, this June, the entire organ department from Yale Institute of Sacred Music came to Vilnius with Dr. Martin Jean.
Oh yes, who is one of the alumni of our university, of Michigan.
And he was very kind and generous, and we had this conversation for podcast too. So he shared what he did in at Yale, and here we are sharing those ideas with you too. So it's a real creative adventures and coincidences, which perhaps are not coincidences at all, right?
I think you're right.
Right. Yes. They lead to bigger things and new beginnings. So, Dr. Kibbie, when I think about your life work, your life dedication to the organ profession and University of Michigan in particular, and the works of Bach, can you go back in time when you first started as a teenager, right? And is there any one thing in particular you wish you knew when you first started that might have helped you then?
I wish that I had paid much more attention to improvisation. I think that I studied improvisation, beginning improvisation, and I think that I thought at the time, that's not really my thing. Maybe I'm not too good at it. And I realize now it was only because I hadn't studied. I hadn't really practiced and learned and perhaps gone and studied with a master teacher. Now, looking back on that was a mistake. I should have not only learned how to perform all of the masterworks of the repertoire, I should have paid much more attention to being an improviser. And I tell my students this, I hope they will not make the same mistake. And in fact, at the University of Michigan, organ improvisation is required at all of the degree levels. And my colleague Kola Owolabi teaches it. And it is remarkable how that opens up so many doors for the musician, not only in improvising, but also in playing works of all composers. Oh, North German organ music. You must be something of an improviser just to play North German Baroque music, for example.
Definitely, improvisation is improvisation is really a point. When you play a repertoire, you have to be aware that majority of organ repertoire composed up until, let's say, 1800s, right, were composed as a model for improvisation and composition, as a model for future generations, perhaps for the students of the composer, just a model to follow their footsteps, so to say.
Yes,
right.
That's absolutely right.
And Dr. Kibbie, it's not too late, I would say, for you to enjoy the art of improvisation, because you are on sabbatical, right? And you are not teaching, so you have.
You're going to give me one more thing to do. I can say that.
I know. But seriously. When we have those experiences in our first years, when we didn't do something in the beginning, when we have time, maybe after retirement, maybe when you have really more time in your days, you can come back to this and create music in the moment. And you will discover that you know much more than the beginning student know more, because you are a master of a very similar field, organ performance, right?
But so important for young students to investigate everything. For the young students, nothing is lost. Anything that they investigate, anything that they are interested in, bears fruit in some way. Sometimes they think, oh, this was wasted time, this was a sideline, I'm not going to do anything with whatever interest it was. And 30 years later, it bears fruit in their lives. So I think it's important for particularly young musicians to investigate everything. If a student says to me, oh, I would like to do this thing or this other thing, I can't choose. Should I do one or the other? I always say do both.
Do both.
Do everything.
Do everything.
Later in your life is time to specialize.
That's right. You, as a teacher, probably it's wise not to restrict one's interest and curiosity just to one field at the beginning and say, no, you won't play Italian music because you are specializing in Dutch music, right? No, you are a learner for a lifetime, right? And maybe there is time for both. Thank you so much, Dr. Kibbie, for your tremendous insights. You're very, very generous. And can you tell us how our listeners can find you and your work online?
Well, the URL for the Bach website is a little bit complicated. So I think the easy thing is just to Google Kibbie, Kibbie, Bach. And if you do that, it will come up instantly. But I can email you the URL, and you can include a link if you wish.
Of course, I will include the link to your website, to the U of M organ department, of course,
Yes.
and to the Bach project that you did,
Yeah.
and people all over the world can go and listen if they haven't done this already. I know many people have done 1 million, right? So
And you don't need an account or a password or anything. You can download one work or all 270. There are two different audio formats. There's MP3, which frankly is very disappointing in terms of the audio quality, because we worked so hard to get just really fine audio quality. So there's another download format that's still compressed, but is much richer than MP3. So you have your choice.
Yes, I'm sure we'll do that, and I wish, Dr. Kibbie, you keep inspiring people, keep coming up with new ideas, keep pioneering the field of organ playing in so many ways that we even can't imagine today.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you, Vitas. It was wonderful to talk with you.
You are an amazing gift for us, for the organ profession, but not only for organists, for the humanity, I would say, too.
Well, you're kind. Very nice. And thank you so much for inviting me to talk on your program. It's been a lot of fun.
It was really, and this hour went so fast, right? And like a good recital.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. If you liked this conversation, I encourage you to visit my blog, Secrets of Organ Playing, at organduo.lt, where you will find lots of insights, practical advice, and training for every area of organ playing. You can subscribe to this blog for free to get your daily dose of inspiration and to be the first to know when any of my future podcasts roll out. I hope to help you reach your dreams in organ playing. I'm Vidas Pilkevičius. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you online really soon.